When Ofgem make any changes, there are one of two numbers they can tell you, and they'll always tell you the one that appeases you the most. Here's what I mean. Hi guys, I'm Richard Winstone with Over 50s Money. If you want to get more of these energy videos, follow them as I produce them. Please do like and subscribe to the Over 50s Money YouTube channel. Just click the button below and click the little bells to get the notifications as well. Thank you. All right, so when Ofgem talk about any changes that they're going to make or anything that's impacted your bills at home, they have one of two choices in how they give you that information. Now, they never lie in the information they give. It's just the way it's portrayed and the response they're going to get from the public. So they intelligently decide how to tell you. And I'm just going to highlight that to you here with a couple of examples I thought would be useful to go through. So the two numbers that they could use are either the total number, how much the total figure is for the country, which is always going to be a big number, or how much it costs you individually, the person reading the information, the person hearing the information, you watching this video right now, how much that's going to impact your bills. And they're very different numbers, obviously. And the reason they'll do one is because either they want to justify making a change, and they'll use the big scary number to be like, well, this is why we're doing it, to avoid this. Or they want to make a change, they don't want you getting mad about it, so they give you the small, like, timid number that you're not really going to be too bothered by, they hope. And I've got a couple of examples of that, so let's just run through those quickly. Okay, so the real costs. Let's look at supplier failures. So Ofgem have told us multiple times, whenever they try to justify making a change, it's to avoid the cost of excessive supplier failures as we had at the energy crisis. There are 30 suppliers failed, and that cost roughly £1.8 billion for the country, which we all have to pay for. But how much is that each? They never say. So there were 30 suppliers. Every time a supplier failed, for every supplier that failed, that's £60 million. 1.8 billion divided by 30, £60 million. Now that's £60 million. It's amongst 28 million homes. So it cost us £2.14 every time a supplier failed. And that's paid across a year. So it's cost us 18 pence per month every time a supplier failed. Now that's me taking some stuff out of context. It wasn't one supplier that failed, it was 30. So we can look at that as the full figures, the cost of the 30 suppliers collapsing. £1.8 billion amongst the 28 million homes in the UK costs us about £65 a year, which is £5.35 per month. We're in an energy crisis where there's hundreds of pounds coming out of our accounts every month to pay for our energy bills, and Ofgem are making changes that increase the cost of the energy that we're using, and they're justifying it by saying we've got to avoid this £1.8 billion fee ever happening again. There aren't 30 energy suppliers left to collapse, but that's not the point. I mean, every energy supplier that does collapse will cost us upwards of £60 million, but that's only 18 pence per month from us. I'm not saying we want energy suppliers to collapse. I'm just saying they use a figure that's scary to justify making changes which are costing us more than it does cost if an energy supplier collapses. Now let's look at an example from the other side when they give us a small number to convince us that it's an okay change. For example, at the moment, Ofgem are trying to increase the profit they give to energy suppliers. Now, when someone emails them about that, they say it's £10, £10 per year in the next price cap. It's not a big deal. But that's £10 across 28 million households, it's £280 million per year. Unlike when a supplier collapses, it's not going to be a one-off cost for 1 year, it's going to be every year going forwards. So £280 million, how long does the price cap last? And say over the next 10 years, it's £2.8 billion in extra profit that we're all paying for. And that's only under one price cap period, that 3 months. Every time the price cap changes, that profit changes. So as the price cap reduces, this new formula actually increases the extra profit more. So if we got back to £1,000 price cap, this new formula would give around £16, £17 additional profit per household, 28 million households. You're moving upwards towards £500 million per year, £500 million per year in extra profit. But they don't want you to get mad about it. So it's just £10. That's all you've got to worry about. It's not a big amount. It's just £10 per year. So this is how they use numbers to try and appease the public or scare them into accepting a change. But imagine if they did it the other way around. So here are some examples, something they don't do. Imagine if they gave us the big numbers for their little changes. Wholesale costs. It's not a little change, I'll give you that. But imagine if they spoke about wholesale costs in the grander scheme. So in January, wholesale was over £3,000 in the price cap. 28 million households paying that. It's £87 billion on wholesale costs. And then they're talking about the 1.8 billion on supplier failures. No one's going to worry about that if you're talking about £87 billion in wholesale costs. So they don't tell you that's how much it is. You can look at the same with profits in that same price cap period from January to March 2023. The profit allowance was 2.1 billion. Now, if they were saying they were increasing our costs because there was 1.8 billion pounds of expense on energy supply failures, however, energy suppliers are going to get 2.1 billion, we'd all be kicking off, going, "Well, the profits will cover that. They can. Why should the shareholders be getting profits? We're already being penalised in this energy crisis. How are they getting higher profits? And we're going to cover the cost of energy supply failures. We didn't make them fail, but they don't tell us this, so we didn't make that argument. And energy suppliers got their huge profits, and we covered the cost of the energy supply failures. Do the same with headroom. It's 1.4 billion. They also got that money. You could do the same with VAT. The government got 5.7 billion in VAT throughout that period. So there are a lot of costs in the price cap that they give us in small chunks and tell us how much it's going to cost us individually, because they don't want us realizing how big these figures really are. And likewise, they use the big figures to justify making these changes so that we get scared and go, actually, yeah, I don't want to pay 1.8 billion pounds. Well, we're not paying that, not individually. Collectively, that's only going to cost us a few pounds per month. But this is how Ofgem use numbers, to convince us what they're doing is a good thing. And I just think it's something people should be aware of. It's why I've made this video. Thing I thought might be useful for you guys to know about how Ofgem use specific language or tell you specific numbers to try and appease the country. Some of it is for simplification. I'm not saying it's always deceptive, but I do think some of the numbers they give are deceptive. I think they say 1.8 billion pounds for supplier failures because it convinces people that this is a big bad problem when you scale it down, it's not actually that expensive. And I think they tell us things like £10 per household for profit because they don't want you to get mad about the fact they're giving somewhere between £250 million of extra profit to the energy suppliers every year going forwards. Second, this is accepted, they're not looking to review it again for another 4 or 5 years. So there's going to be a few £billion of extra profit going to energy suppliers, but it's only £10 per year to you. So don't worry about it. That's what they say. So yeah, I thought it was useful to try and spread that message, get people to understand the numbers that Ofgem spout aren't always what you think they are. You should have a look into what it's going to cost you personally if they give you a big number, and you should look at what it's going to cost the country overall if they give you one of these small numbers. I hope that was helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments below, or you can email me, richard@over50smoney.com. Thanks, guys.